Well, hey there. Welcome back to another episode of Ask Dr. Hein. Thanks for joining me here today. You know, we had an interesting question come up from a listener over at the University of Colorado in Boulder. And what he wanted to know is, you know, in a lot of these other episodes in my books, so forth, Opening Minds and Planetary Intelligence, I talk about the idea of resonance, and what this listener wants to know is, why is resonance even relevant? Why should we even think about it? You know, we got all these problems in the world. Isn't this just sort of like an esoteric subject? And it's a really great question. I'd like to address it right now. You know, a lot of these so-called subtle energy sciences, and I'd include in that things like remote viewing and telekinesis and really a host of other types of topics, could even include UFOs and crop circles and spirit research and so forth. Things like this all have to do with the idea of resonance. Resonance is the idea of how things have a certain built-in vibration, things have a certain built-in frequency. And you're probably familiar with the idea of resonance just through things like radios and televisions and now even the internet work by matching the frequency of the sender with the frequency of the receiver, and then boom, you're on the same channel. Now, you're aware that we're surrounded right now by all sorts of radio signals, cell phone transmissions. It's all in the air around us in the space, so to speak, but you're not receiving it because you don't have the right receiving equipment unless you have something like a cell phone or a radio that's tuned to a particular channel. I mean, why don't all the cell phone conversations interfere with each other? Why don't you hear other people's cell phone conversations at once when you're talking to your friend? It's because you're on a different channel, a different frequency. Well, similarly, you know, things like resonant viewing seem to work. I mean, no one's absolutely certain, but they seem to work because of the principle of resonance, that somehow you're tuning into the frequency of an object, person, or place, you know, at a distance, and boom, the information is there, just like it is in a radio. I mean, you know that Mozart or your favorite rock group or pop group dance song isn't really in the radio or even in your computer. It's kind of coming through the technology because of the frequency, because of the resonance. And similarly, you know, I've always suspected, as you've seen my other episodes here, that crop circles, because of their shape, their geometry, their precision, the fact that they look a lot like liquid crystals, suggests that they could also have a frequency and allow information and energy to kind of transform through them to receive information, to give off information. And that could explain, you know, why we see so many weird battery effects on equipment and technologies when we go into crop circles, you know, batteries failing and things like this. And then the whole issue of UFOs, well, honestly, I don't even know exactly how UFOs work. There seem to be many different types of craft, if we believe witnesses who have actually seen these recovered craft in crash retrievals and so forth. People like Sergeant Clifford Stone and Sergeant Major, you know, retired Bob Dean have talked about some of the things that they've seen either in documents or Clifford Stone's case, actual recovered craft. I'm not sure exactly how those work, but if they do work according to resonance, it would have pretty big implications, because if we understand how the propulsion systems work, then we might be able to take advantage of that. So what does this all come down to? Well, look at it. We're in a planet right now that has a lot of challenges. Look at the oil spill in the Gulf, for example. If we had newer, more modern technologies based on resonance, we wouldn't be needing fossil fuels. We wouldn't need nuclear technology. We wouldn't even need wind or solar, because there is so much energy in every quarter centimeter of space around us. It's really phenomenal. You know, the statistic I heard the last time was that there is more energy just in the space of the vacuum of a cubic centimeter than there is in all the physical things you can see, including all the stars and galaxies going out 20,000 light years in any direction where you are. So there's actually more energy in empty space, if you can liberate it, than there is in physical matter. But all of our technology so far that we have used, pretty much, you know, as a civilization, are based on extracting physical fuels and combustion, basically exploding things from physical materials and physical fuels. So if we had renewable kind of unlimited energy sources, we wouldn't have the types of, you know, disasters that we've seen recently in terms of oil spills and so forth. So being able to tap into this resonance is very significant. Now, it's not just a pie-in-the-sky thing. There are already some physicists that have worked, Hal Puthoff, for example, on the idea of the Casimir effect, which is that if you bring metal plates very close to each other within a few nanometers, they start attracting each other for some unexplainable reasons. No one's sure exactly why this is happening, if it's due to the space or due to the interaction of the atoms in the metal plates. But in any case, this is an example where you're getting an energy effect at a very small scale that really is completely unlimited and it's completely free. Now, it is a very small effect, but if you could magnify that effect, you could be generating energy. And similarly, things like in crop circles, when we've gone into them, I've often wondered, well, if you can make a crop circle that drains batteries in 2 seconds, could you make a crop circle that charges batteries? Hey, wouldn't that be fun? So really what we're looking at is where it seems like we're at the cusp, just at the edge of a brand new technological revolution, in a sense, a new era where we're shifting from mechanically, industrially based technologies into more subtle energy-based technologies, resonant technologies, and technologies that, if they did, take advantage of the quantum effects, we would say zero-point technologies. And that's really the relevance, if you want to know some of the topics we've been talking here on the Ask Dr. Hein show, is we're looking at basically new technologies, if you'd like to call them that, because they also have implications for humans, how we relate to our environment, our understanding of our own abilities and so forth with remote viewing, things like that. So there are a lot of implications here. And we know from the history of science, if you've looked at it, that, the Pope never wanted to look through Galileo's telescope. And so people like to hold on to their beliefs. We all do this. I'm no different from you. We have our certain belief structures, and we like to hold on to these beliefs. But we know from the history of science that when new things are invented, it takes a long time for the people that are alive at the time to accept this. Just take a look at the Wright brothers. They were flying for 2 years before Scientific American was willing to admit it wasn't a hoax. And when they flew down the streets of Charleston, South Carolina, apparently the newspaper reporters shuttered their windows and pulled their shades down because they had called Scientific American, who had said that it was a hoax. So even after they were successfully flying, people still didn't believe it. And this applies to so many different types of technology. You remember that quote from one of the Hollywood movie production company owners, I forget who it was exactly, who said back in the 1920s, when sound was invented for movies, he said famously, "Who wants to hear actors talk?" So this is even coming from someone working in the film industry. So you can see there's so many examples of this, that society tends to cling to the way we do things, but when new technologies are invented. So even though we don't have these zero-point energy technologies, right here at the moment, just the fact that we're talking about them makes it easier for it to happen, more likely to happen. And we need to accept it, mentally, in addition to just having it there, because it may not work unless we even understand how it works too. So there's a lot of reasons to talk about these topics that we talk about here, because it really has to do with the technology of the future. So anyway, always looking forward to your comments and your questions. Keep them coming, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care.